Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. Excited to talk to you guys today about our new coaching hires on the Texas Longhorns staff. J-Val I, previously of Rutgers, now being on board, replacing Jason Washington as our new cornerback coach. And then we have Andre Coleman, who was an analyst here last year, way of Kansas State, was in the interim role as a wide receiver coach through bowl prep, bowl game. He now gets promoted to wide receiver coach as well, replacing one Drew Maringer. So we're going to get into all that, but first I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Boss's Ranch. Guys are selling off the shelves. Go check them out. HEB Cold Produce, best darn ranch in Texas. Links below. They've got hilarious 30, 20-second bit commercials. You'll enjoy them as well. So starting off with Jason Washington, I was not surprised at all, and I think I mentioned this at the end of the Stan Drayton video, that we were deciding to move in another direction. That's one of the reasons Todd Orlando was let go, the lack of development with the defensive back, specifically the cornerback play, and we know how young they were and the folks that had moved on. But one of the things we had seen an issue with throughout the Tom Herman era here at Texas was ability to play the ball and certain fundamental breakdowns that we've had, even with guys like a Chris Boyd, Holton Hill, Devontae Davis, things that they struggle with, even advancing Holton Hill and Chris Boyd to the NFL. And then you see the same issues that weren't necessarily corrected with the younger guys. And so when you see those type of things, despite the fact that Jason Washington was a very good recruiter, he was one of the backbone recruiters of the 2018 class. But player development is paramount right now in this program and something that's going to be key if we want to be competing with the teams that are playing tonight, for example, LSU and Clemson. And you see their whole rosters, and you'll hear about a guy like a Justin Jefferson, who was a 3-star recruit, and they develop into a future NFL player, and guys on both sides, right? So it's not just a whole bunch of 5-star guys and 5-star battles we're winning. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later in the video as well. But in comes, starting with the cornerback position, J-Val I, a younger guy, somebody who I'm sure a lot of Texas fans weren't necessarily familiar with. I actually recognized his name from playing NCAA football back in the day because the brother was a safety on Wisconsin. And I used to put the names in every year. So shout out to anybody that remembers or knows what I'm talking about. I used to go to the library, print out the rosters, and literally manually import everybody's name in, save it on my memory card, and then, try to sell it to people. So, yeah. So that's kind of where I was like, that name sounds really familiar. And when you're sitting there putting names in, you remember folks. Had no idea where he had, gone on to and his playing career and coaching life, but here he is now. And as we've all kind of gotten familiar with him as a coach and what he can bring to Texas, what are some things that we're excited to see from J-Val I, and what are some things that we may be concerned about. I know right off the bat, just looking at some of the videos of him coaching drills at Rutgers and some of the videos that are circulating across Texas message boards and chat groups, his energy. He's a young guy. He's a guy that's from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And he seems to be, all these videos are always going to be flattering of whatever coach. I'm sure there's great, videos. Actually, I know there's great videos of Jason Washington with energy and fired up young coach. Like, same thing, right? But at least with J-Val I, he's a guy that did spend some time in the NFL as a quality control coach for the Kansas City Chiefs. And he spent some time with the Georgia Bulldogs when they made their run to the national championship game before they were defeated by Alabama. So there's a lot of good there just from a standpoint of some of the folks he's been around. And when you talk about the energy and the buy-in and you're bringing somebody on to your staff references, do people vouch for you? What's your your brand is what people say about you when unprompted, when you're not around, right? And he has gotten a lot of endorsements from folks that he's worked with previously, folks from Georgia and folks from within Texas, trainers, guys like Footwork King and some of the other folks out there who are like, wow, Texas is really making a move here, a really great hire. I'm looking for him to hopefully help us ramp up recruiting wise, specifically in the DFW area, which is where he played his high school football and where he's from. I look at somebody like that to help us even battles offensively and defensively, just across the board. I'm going to get into some folks that I'm worried about slipping through our hands later here in this video. But from a credibility standpoint, being a former player, having that NFL pedigree, I'm excited about that aspect. Now, here are my concerns. We went back to the Rutgers and I know, it's not fair to him that with the Drew Manager thing and now you have Chris Ash, but it just is like, I know there's Texas fans out there just from it's like, do we have to keep going to Rutgers? And if we had gotten them from Georgia and the Rutgers thing I get all that. But I will say the greater concern for me is the task that's ahead of him. He's going to have a very, very talented group. Somebody asked me on one of the live chats, the end of the last live chat we did for the Alamo Bowl, who my breakout player might be. And this is even before he's hired. And I said Anthony Cook. I think Anthony Cook's going to make a leap going into his junior season. But whether it's Anthony Cook, Deshaun Jameson, Jalen Green, Kenyatta Watson, these guys are really, really talented. The four I just named and other guys that, hopefully we can get in here. But he's got to get them developed. He's got to get them coached up and playing better and playing with confidence. I'm sorry, but I'm looking at, again, Clemson tonight, a guy like a Darian Kendrick who's been playing corner for 1 year, and he's been pretty freaking good in the 10 or 11 games they've put him out there at corner or whatever. Or maybe he's played all 14 games. I don't know. But I'm seeing other players change positions and play and at least understand man coverage principles, at least understanding that, hey, I got to be an athlete, catch and run, keeping my man, hands on my guy at certain points and turn my head and try to play the football as best I can. Certain things like that. Now, I know the position gets a lot harder when we're talking about run support, when we're talking about zone defense, matching up in the zone, when I should jump a route versus when I should play off, and understanding leverage and technique and all those type of things. I get all that. But from an athletic standpoint, we've got to get people playing up to their speed. We've got to get people. I can't see Deshaun Jameson, who's so fast and so gifted and so talented, being misused and his eyes are stuck in the backfield and now he can't play fast like we need him to. So J-Val I is tasked with that. And the reason why it's a concern for me is because when you're not a proven guy, that has shown development of so many other players, and maybe he had a lot more to do on a quality control side than I'm aware of. And some of the Georgia guys are coming out and vouching for him in that regard. But when you haven't developed a whole lot of guys, we need him to develop them now. Like, this is not they're growing and we need them to get there now, right? So that's something to be mindful of. But what he can bring us in recruiting, Lord knows we need the uptick there, especially in DFW, and hopefully being able to connect better with the players. I think that's something that Jason Washington may have struggled with, especially with the younger guys. Message may have gone stale. I don't know. I wasn't at practices. I wasn't in their film sessions. But I like the brother. I like the way he communicates, and I think he can be a positive for us. But he is coaching a very, very critical position for our success in the 2020 season. So moving on to Andre Coleman, who was here with us last year as an analyst. Right away you heard rave reviews coming out of the bowl game from players, from parents. Those of you who were on the paid sites, and you're starting to hear kind of the notes and the murmurs, and it's like, hey, Andre Coleman's doing a great job. Hey, Andre Coleman has had an impact on the players. They love him. He's one of the most popular players on the staff. I noticed on social media, Texas sends out the official memo that he's been hired. Brennan Eagles immediately retweets, and then guys just jumping in. Marcus Washington and his dad coming on board. I know Marcus Washington and their family were really, really rooting for Andre Coleman to get this job, and it was a competitive battle because he may not have been our number one choice. We were in pursuit of Emmett Jones. How much, I don't, no one's ever going to admit how much they were in pursuit, right? But Emmett Jones does get a raise from Kansas. He had also coached at Texas Tech and developed a lot of guys there. He got a raise at Kansas, increased role as a passing game coordinator, I believe. And then it was, we had the conversation, and we've talked about on this channel about a Tyron Carrier from Houston, who was formerly of Dana Holgerson's staff. We don't go those directions. We promote from within. Andre Coleman, but somebody that Tom Herman spoke about and said, hey, he proved his worth over the last year here. And Tom Herman said one of the biggest reasons was relationship with the kids. And it makes a lot of sense for me. And it was somebody who I had said, just talking with whether you guys were DMing me or whatever, I was like, yo, like Andre Coleman has repaired and probably saved a lot of players from a lot more damage that could have been done, A, internally, and B, in recruiting, because he was, with that role bump he got after the firing of Drew Maringer, he was able to go out and recruit and at least keep things at bay for the 2020 kids and get them signed. So he does have experience recruiting Texas. Things I like about Andre Coleman as well is he was he was let go by the Bill Snyder staff when they moved on, and the Chris Coleman came over, but he was the offensive coordinator for a year. He was a wide receiver coach for Kansas State. He developed guys like Byron Pringle, Tyler Lockett, now the Seattle Seahawks. One of the nice little bonuses we get with Andre Coleman is his impact on special teams, specifically in the return game. He was a stud kick returner. He played for the San Diego Chargers, had a record return in the Super Bowl. Another guy with NFL pedigree, and the reason why I keep saying NFL pedigree, one of the things that Texas has to get back to, and I said on the last video, getting first round picks. We have to get guys developed, and I'm saying first round picks. I'm not saying NFL draft picks. Yes, NFL draft picks are important, but all these kids coming here, we are losing the recruiting battle in homes when families and folks are, talking about player development. Keely Ringo talking about player development. Are you guys going to get me playing to the absolute best I can possibly play? Well, at least now getting folks on staff who have been at that level and understand what it takes and can help guide these brothers and keep their heads focused and keep their eye on the business at hand. Yes, you're here at Texas to have fun, and hopefully we're here to win and win big, right? We want to be playing tonight in this national championship game. But the ultimate goal for many of you guys, well, some of you guys, is to get to the NFL and develop yourself, because that's going to also help skins in the hall with the program to get more talent here, because we're now a factory churning out those picks. There's no reason why Texas shouldn't have a first round pick. This is Malcolm Brown to the New England Patriots. That's inexcusable. So now getting a guy like a J-Val I, getting a guy like Andre Coleman on our staff with that NFL experience, Stan Drayton, whether he stays or goes, NFL experience, we have to do a better job of helping these kids attain their goals. And when they come in this program, whether a Brandon Jones, who's a 4 or 5 star, or Jordan Whittington, who's a 5 star, the guys that come in here that are really, really highly ranked, they need to be leaving here really, really highly ranked. There shouldn't be a dip, hopefully, right? Barring injury and the things that are the controllables. So this staff, I like the initiative to focus on player development. Now, concerns with Andre Coleman is just, recruiting in the DFW area, because JoJo Earl comes out from Aledo, who's one of the most explosive high school players in the country, 2021 class, who is the type of receiver we haven't gotten here in a long time. That Rondale Moore, those quick twitch Hollywood Brown type of guys, right? JoJo Earl comes out with his top 4 schools. Texas didn't make the list. Now, he did have a relationship with Drew Maringer, and he was the lead recruiter. So I'm looking at a guy like Andre Coleman. Can you come in now? Hey, you did a good job kind of shoring things up for 2020. We didn't snatch anybody else, but can we now go in and try to get back in the mix with a JoJo Earl? Can we get back in the mix and get a guy like a Quay Davis recommitted, right? That's one of the reasons why Texas was targeting a guy like Emmett Jones so hard, because Emmett Jones has those relationships and those connections within that area and with those coaches and those families. So we've got to do a better job across the board in the development aspect, but also making those connections with those players and assessing our roster of skill set, that we do not have. And a guy like a JoJo Earl, we do not have. A guy that is as good as a Quay Davis. No disrespect to the brothers we have right now. They're not at that level, right? From a raw talent perspective, we've got to get back to getting those guys on this roster at multiple positions, because I'm looking at linebacker, right, for 2020 right now. We have one linebacker committed, right, the brother Jalen Ford from Frisco. We have, or signed. We have one corner in Keaton Crawford. And so that leads me to the next thing. We dropped the ball with Enos Rakestraw Jr. from Duncanville, who has been a shutdown corner, DFW Defensive Player of the Year. Obviously, his team went to the state championship game. Teammate of a Jaquindon Jackson and a Chris Thompson, and a guy who blossomed this year, his senior year, went up against some of the best receivers in the country. I will put Enos's resume up against any other high school corner in terms of matchups. The job he did against those of you who went to the game with Jackson Smith and Gaba, and he was tearing people apart. The brother from Walkwall, look what he did in the Allen game. And Enos Rakestraw Jr. holds him to 5 catches, 37 yards, no TDs. The job he did against Rakim Jarrett, who's going to Maryland, 5-star receiver. Job he did against Quay Davis, who I just mentioned how talented that brother is. There's a brother out here, and so I'm gonna get to the skinny of this, because I understand we didn't have the full staff in play, and there's a lot of changes going on. However, this brother Enos was very, very interested in Texas, and still the interest is still there. I'm not saying we've completely lost him, but at the time he's a very, very lowly ranked 3-star, and this is why we got to get our mind out of the rankings and get our mind into evaluation and fit and development, because a lot of people, we were excited about Joshua Eaton, we were excited about Ethan Pouncey, we were excited about the possibility of Akili Ringo, all guys that were highly, highly, highly rated guys. But we didn't even offer Enos Rakestraw Jr. until what, last week? Last week is when the brother got an offer. So when Eaton decommitted, when Pouncey decommitted and his brother transferred and they went to Florida, where was the offer? Why are we telling brothers, hey, hold on, we'll take care of you after early signing day? Because I believe, and I don't have any proof, but I have an inkling that if we had taken him seriously earlier and had the foresight to understand, hey, we're the Joshua Eaton thing, we'll try to salvage it, but we got to have a backup plan. We got to have a contingency plan. And then you lose both him and Pouncey, your 2 outside corners. Now it's like, all right, well, let's go get this brother that's locking people down. Let's have some, because now those of you who just love rankings, we'll see what the rankings are going to look like at the conclusion of signing day. This brother may go up again for the work he's done in DFW. And we're talking about somebody who's really, really good at man coverage. I kind of comp him to a guy that played at Alabama a few years ago, and a Levi Wallace who's now the Buffalo Bills. And I'm very, very impressed with his cover skills and his physicality and run game. But we just, he's skinny, he's only 170 pounds, and we just, and now, guess who's crystal ball, who's favored where he's supposed to go now? Alabama. Alabama swoops in and is probably going to get this kid. So that's why I bring up the Levi Wallace comp anyway. And he's a 3-star. And then and again, Josh Jacobs, who I believe was from Oklahoma. Somebody correct me on that if I'm wrong. But OU kind of, falls asleep at the wheel there. And because I think he's from Tulsa, if I'm not mistaken. But they fall asleep at the wheel. Alabama comes in and takes the guy, but he's a 3-star. Nobody's excited about Josh Jacobs. Y'all get excited about Najee Harris, and he's really good too, but he's a 5-star. But who's the guy that ends up, being the main man in the first round pick? It's Josh Jacobs, right? So, guys, people develop, grow senior year. That was one thing I did like about Charlie Strong. He talked about that all the time. The physical development of kids is different, certain age groups, and you have to, as a coach, always kind of save 1 or 2 spots for those late bloomer type kids, because those are the folks that end up at different schools, and then 3-4 years later you're like, how'd this guy slip through the cracks? Well, those of you who are on recruiting websites, and I'm in certain chat groups with some of y'all who have been talking about this brother all season. It's not like he plays for some random 3S school. He plays for Duncanville, 6A program, marquee program. On the face of that, how these folks, some of these kids slip through the cracks, or whether it's the politics behind it, I'm not sure. But hopefully guys like a J-Val I and Andre Coleman, I'm excited to have them on board. We got to get the evaluations on point, guys. Tom Herman. We can't have people slipping through the cracks like that, especially when we lose somebody else. We've got to move on and get the offers out to because now we're looking at having a class potentially with one corner and one linebacker, and then we got to go and wait for the portal again, try to get in the portal. And I know there's always, portal's a whole nother animal, but if we can at least get the depth there, that's how we get in games that are being played like tonight. So that's my point. And hopefully, Coach Coleman, Coach Valai, best luck to you guys. Please get us back in the mix with the Enos, who right now, he's got a late January visit with Georgia, I believe. He's got a Missouri visit. Michigan State's in the mix. Like now, all these people popped in the mix when Texas could have closed the deal early. JoJo Earl, Quay Davis. That's going to be a test right off the bat for these guys. But I think these guys are ready for the challenge. And again, like I've said for this whole Texas offseason, I'm cautiously optimistic. I like the new energy, and we'll see where we go. You guys let me know in the comments how you feel about what I just said. Enjoy the national championship game tonight. I know I'm dropping right before kickoff, but just wanted to get these thoughts out with the new hires. And guys, as always, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Make sure you're hitting the links below, supporting a brother, making sure we're almost to 1,000 people on Instagram, and those of you who are doing hard work and just scurrying the message boards and sharing our stuff, I am very, very grateful. So with that, horns always up. Peace.